Hi guys and girls, this is just a quick video just to give you the basic run through of downloading, installing WordPress and setting up basic options. So the first thing I need to do is download the latest copy. What I'm going to do is go to the wordpress.org site, and from there we follow the links just to download it. So as you see, download 3.0.1, downloading that, so you just have to bear with the computer just a moment while it does that. That should open up in my downloads as soon as that's finished. Okay, so here we go, I've got 3.0.1. I'm just going to copy that into my demo folder, which I'm going to use for the purpose of this example. And what I'll do is then extract that and copy all the files into the root. It'll behave. Okay. I've also got the theme files, which I'll cover in the next tutorial, uploading and getting everything set up there. Now what you would normally do at this point is actually use FTP or SFTP to upload the files to your site. I'm working today on my local host, so I don't actually need to do that. Just by dropping the files into the demo folder under localhost, it will be available to me now. So if you just give me a chance to get this open and demo. What you'll see first of all is it says we need to create a config file. Now that's not a problem to do. It's just a case of going to phpMyAdmin or something similar depending on your host and setting up a new database. And from there we just need to change a few settings in the config file. So I am using MAMP, which makes it really easy. Just go to phpMyAdmin and I will create a new table. We'll call this one demo. When it gets there, that is. Demo. So I've created my table, and what I need to do now also, this is Coda application I use for developing and designing sites. It's also in the same folder. You can see we've got all the information here. So I'm just going to first of all rename wp config samples wp config. I'm going to open it up. So the database name is demo, which I've just created, and because I'm using my local installation, the username and password are both root. This will be different, and depending on your host, they may set the password and username up for you. You may have a choice. The host name itself, localhost, it will be in 99% of the cases, but it is a case of check with your host. And then the last thing to do, you can see we've got a link here to grab secret keys. If you just copy and paste that into your browser, and what you'll see is that you get a predetermined set of keys come up. If you refresh the page a few times, you see the keys will change. What you need to do is just highlight them all, copy back into your editor and update all these with the correct keys. Okay, there's nothing else you need to do here to get WordPress working, but from a security point of view, you should really change the table prefix. You can make it whatever you like. You can include letters, numbers, underscores, but no symbols. That just gets everything messy. So we just save that file, and now if I go back to my demo page, it will now tell me that I can install WordPress. Let's just do it the easy way. I've gone onto the install page. Okay, now you set up your WordPress site using this installer. You give your site a name and enter the username. Everything else you'll be doing in the WordPress options from the back end side of things. So I'm going to call this site WordPress demo. Username, don't leave it as admin. It's default, which means that everybody, including those in the hacker side of things, will know that. So I'm just going to call mine demo, and for the sake of argument, I'm going to make my password password. Please don't do this. Pick something secure. You can use some symbols, numbers, etc., just to make it easier. And I'm just going to throw in any old address because it really doesn't actually matter what I do. Obviously, put your own email address in because you'll need this to get into your site, and if you need to reset your password at all, that's how you do it. So just logging in. My username is set as demo. I chose password as my password. Nice and easy. It just takes a moment to load. Well, I'll just get rid of that page. Okay, so it's demo and password and enter. Now if this is the first time you've seen WordPress admin, it can be a bit daunting. There are loads of options all over the place which make things a bit confusing. using. What I'm going to run you through here is just setting up the basic settings to get your site sorted out, all set up. If you have a look at the site at the moment, what you'll find is that you're running on default theme, which in WordPress 3 and higher is 2010. Looks like this, very simple. So you've got a number of options to change under settings. First of all, this is obviously all optional, but it's something I do. So just to confirm, we've got a title. Update that if you want. The tagline, you'll often see on themes that it's included in the titles. Depends on the theme as to what actually happens. I'm just going to change this, just a WordPress demo. Leave the WordPress address and site URL alone. You can update the email address if you want. I would recommend changing a time zone to your local zone, in my case London, and then there's a couple of options for the date and time. Now if you want to, you can update these. I personally prefer to use a different format because I would prefer the suffix on the ends of numbers, and also to put the number before the month name. If you want information on this, just click on the link underneath and it will give you all different PHP date and time options. Obviously the date goes in the top box, time goes in the bottom box. Save the changes and you'll get a preview of what it looks like. So I've now changed it to 13th of August rather than August 13. Okay, next on to writing. Now if you don't plan on using email to post, then take out these settings completely. Size of your post box, it's optional. I make it 15 lines for me just because I think it's a bigger box makes it easier, and if you've got the correct size screen to cope with that, no problem at all. A couple of options, convert icons. You can do that if you like, you don't have to, it's completely optional. I would recommend leaving unchecked so the WordPress should correct invalid nested HTML or XHTML automatically. You can find that with shortcodes and depending on your coding style, WordPress can make mistakes and break the formatting of a page, so I would always suggest you do it on your own. You've got tools that will help you in the WordPress editor get that sorted out. Last one is update services. Now it's entirely up to you whether you want to add in more than the default Ping-O-Matic. You've got a link which will take you through to the page which has the whole list if you want, and just recently they've updated this to make them all on one line, which is what you need to have in the post box underneath. It used to be a case that you had to literally do them all one at a time and put a line break in. Once you're happy with that, just save it, and then onto reading settings. So what I would recommend is to have your latest posts checked as your front page setting, on the basis that it will use the index.php or home.php files in your theme, rather than creating a page which can cause problems with sidebars specific to a front page, for example. And then for blog pages, that's your front page, or if there's a blog template, you can adjust the number of posts that appear there. Likewise in an RSS feed, and then you want to select between full and summary, and leave the encoding alone unless you're feeling adventurous. It's entirely up to you, but I've never had a problem with UTF-8. Moving on to discussion. Down to which settings you want to pick is completely up to you. Personally, I don't like pingbacks and trackbacks because I think that they are unsightly in the comment area and slow the site down. So what I would recommend is unchecking link notifications from other blogs. You can leave notifications to other blogs, that's entirely up to them as to whether they want to display those or not. And if you want people to comment, just change settings to suit yourself. If you want moderation in place completely, then just untick the comment hill for moderation and then make it so that an administrator must always approve the comment. You've then also got options to add in moderation words and blacklists. So if you find you're getting spam from the same sort of sites, or it's always links to certain sites, you can just block those phrases and that will mean that you have less admin to deal with. Avatars, leave them as default. Moving on to media. The thumbnail size is something that's kind of getting depreciated on the basis that with custom post types and with featured images where you can define the size, it's kind of making them obsolete. It's still worth leaving them there in case the theme doesn't support it. But essentially what you want to do is just leave all this alone. Your uploads will be put into your wp-content/uploads folder. Now on the default extract of WordPress, it doesn't exist. So the server will either create the folder or it will tell you to create the folder. And depending on your permissions, you may need to set it up to give the particular folder right permissions as well. Full URLs past files, just leave it blank. If you want to mess around with that, then it's just a case of where do you want to put your uploads and work out from there in that respect. And I'd recommend leaving on the organise uploads into month and year based folders just to make life easier. Okay. Moving on to privacy, it's very simple. You'd like search engines to index a site or you would not. I would leave it as you would like to search it. If you're doing a development site or you're doing a site which is going to be it's like a staging site, while you're building the content and getting all layout, everything figured out, block the search engines or password protect the site, and then when you change it over to your live site, obviously make sure you put that option in. Just one thing to note here, if you do select block search engines, you get a nice big warning up saying search engines blocked with a link back to this page so you can change it back if you prefer. Okay, and then last but not least, what we've got to do is just look at your permalink structure. Now, you don't have to change this. I would recommend a month and name based layout, and what I would probably do myself is create a category base of blog. The way to look at it from here is that all your blog posts will go under the blog. If you have custom post types such as portfolio or slider entries or testimonials or anything else you can think of, forum or shop, invoicing, etc., they'll all have their own category base and it keeps all the content separate. Obviously, pages don't use this category base. It's just the way I like setting things up. So going back to the front page, what you'll be able to see now is that we've got home and about is now using the permalink structure we've set up and works because the server had the ability to write to the htaccess file. If for whatever reason you don't have write permissions set up, then it will come up with a box just under save changes once you've updated the permalink structure to say you must now copy this into your htaccess file, and from there we'll let your files work. If you change to a different style of permalinks, it's exactly the same code pretty much, so there's no real reason to worry about that. Okay. Lastly, just to check, you've got your posts which now use the date followed by the post name structure. That all works fine. So the next step is now setting up your theme, and I'll cover that in the next video.